some statistics. I put these kids, because a lot of folks, when I do professional development, they go, well, these kids. And I kind of chuckle because I think it's so many more than you think. You know, I mean, this is not the kid that you see that's really acting badly. This can be most of the kids that you have around you. So 1 in 4 children will experience a traumatic event before the age of 16. 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 7 boys will be sexually abused in their lifetime. And 15.5 million children in the U.S. live in homes where there's domestic violence. These are just the different types of trauma. We have a single incident trauma. Single incident traumas are known to be the least impactful trauma. They're more easily treated and cause less lifelong problems. Chronic trauma is the same type of trauma over and over, and complex means that there's several kinds of trauma over a long period of time. I just think it's real important to show folks that this is not just about behavior or what you see in front of you. There is a neurological difference in children that have experienced real complex trauma over a period of time. So these are 2 3-year-old children. And if I can point out to you real quick, this is what a typical, I hate the word normal, this is what a typical brain looks like in a 3-year-old child. Right here is the prefrontal lobe, which is where all your thinking goes on. That's the executive part of your brain, so impulse control, thinking and planning and organizing, all of those things that we use in school too, and when we're interacting with folks, right? That's the thinking part of your brain. The little areas in the middle, that is our limbic system, and their amygdala is in there. So your limbic system is where all those feelings happen. And your amygdala is where all your memories are stored that you don't remember, right? So over here, you see this big gap here. First of all, the brain is noticeably smaller. That's the really miraculous thing about the human brain. I always think of ivy on the side of an old house, right? You pull that stuff down, and what happens? Come back out, and it grows right back, right? So the human brain is like that. It will continue to grow and develop it because it wants to survive, right? So we're going to have big gaps here, so this child's going to have a lot of trouble with impulse control and regulating themselves, being able to stay calm, being able to respond in a way that's appropriate. But see those big old holes there in the limbic system and the amygdala? That is a child that's going to get real dysregulated real quick, okay? So just to point out, this is more than just what we saw in the video. There's a physiological thing that happens in the brain. Yeah?
The 2 brains are actually the same size, right? I mean, it's not, as it shows there, is that much smaller? Wow.
Failure to thrive on full body.
What's that?
Failure to thrive on full body.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm getting some pushback here on the video. Okay. For some reason. Okay. So there we are. So stress, anxiety, they activate that emotional center that I just talked about. There is no thinking going on. When you're upset, you're not thinking, right? And so when that area of the brain is activated, when you say to a person, calm down, nobody's ever calmed down because you told them to calm down. Okay? Sometimes I get a lot of heat. I work with superheroes every day, one of my jobs anyway. And the superheroes are teachers. And sometimes I'll catch heat because they got a lot of kids. They want kids to do what they're told, when they're told, the way they told them to do it, right? And so when it doesn't go well, that's when I get called sometimes. Sometimes I'll get some heat because there's a kid, he's sitting on the floor and he had just called his teacher a blah, 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 and he just threw a chair and he's sitting on the floor and he's crying and he's banging his head. I'm sitting next to him and I've got my arm around him. And the next thing I know, I've got a bunch of people at my door. Why were you rewarding him for that? Why, now he thinks that he can do that and you're just gonna have him play with you. No, he doesn't. Okay, there's no thinking going on in that feeling part of the brain, right? That feeling part of the brain wants to feel loved and valued, it needs it, okay? The cortex, that's that prefrontal lobe part that we were pointing at, is the thinking part of your brain. Those are all the different processes, just actually some of them, that is responsible for. It cannot be accessed during times of stress. And the way that I think about it is my internal state will dictate how I behave. So thinking about kids who come see you, or when you go see kids, and we're gonna get into some of those things that will push kids here. But when you see a kid that isn't behaving in a way that you think, whoa, this doesn't look real typical to me, then the first thing that I really want folks to think about is, are they in that feeling state or are they thinking? Because if they're in that feeling state, you're not going to get a cognitive reaction. It may not make sense to you. That's okay. The brain has two response systems. The first is to become really hypervigilant, right? And if the stress continues, to release hormones and chemicals that slow down the body. And the brain really does believe in that moment, I need to prepare to die. The kid doesn't think that, but the brain prepares for that. So, when kids are coming to see you, most kids want to see Santa Claus, right? But if they're perceiving a threat, if the brain perceives a threat in some way, then they may want to try to engage with you in that way, but because of their trauma history, they're not able to do that in a way that might be comfortable for everyone, even them, or it doesn't feel safe, okay? Gonna get more into that.
Is that when children tend to go looking like they're catatonic?
Sometimes, and this is behaviors right here, sometimes kids will look like they're out of it. Sometimes kids will behave like a wild animal. Sometimes, this is some of what we'll see. So hyperarousal, cortisol is that stress hormone, and it'll create hyperarousal. I have a lot of trauma kids. You know, the hard part about working in schools, the reason why I love working outside of school, because it gives me a little bit of respite sometimes, because everybody's an expert in behavior. I mean, what I do is I have to do a lot of nodding my head and biting my tongue, you know. But a lot of kids with trauma get misdiagnosed with ADHD because they see hyperactivity, they can't sit still, they're constantly talking, they fidget. You might see kids pull their clothes into their mouth, pick on their lips, okay? Those are kids where that cortisol is really pumping and they cannot physically keep themselves calm, okay? Disassociation is that, someone asked about catatonic, and disassociation is really just the idea of leaving your brain and your body because it's safe. So that is a way that kids will keep themselves safe. One time I was called as a therapist, when I was working as an in-home family therapist in foster care, I was called to a home of a client, and when I walked in the door, all three of my clients were on the floor in the kitchen, and they had taken everything out of the fridge and they were using it with their hands. They were naked. They were using it with their hands on the floor. And the police officers are walking around, and they're screaming and yelling and lights flashing, and they acted like there was no one else there. And folks were afraid to approach them, as they should have been. They really needed someone who knew what they were doing. And so I literally just sat down on the floor, started doing what they were doing. It's pretty grody. Started doing what they were doing, and used a very low voice before they could finally tune back in. Because what had happened before everyone had gotten there when they come to see you or when you come to see them, they might stand there and you won't get eye contact. They'll look kind of like they're out of it, and that's okay. That's okay. So using that soft voice, being real careful about any kind of presence near them, right? But also knowing that there will be people who might try to force them. And I would love for you guys to go, no. They're good right there, right there. Let's bring the volume down. Let's bring the lights down a little bit. Let's clear some space a little bit, right? Impulsive, disruptive, their stop and think response is very impaired. These are kids who don't know whether to pick their nose or they really don't think about, they don't have that ability to stop and think before they do something. Bouts of rage are easily frustrated, or there is a lack of emotional response. These are also kids who have frequent somatic complaints, stomach aches, headaches. Their immune system really does become impaired if it's very chronic. Very disruptive sleep patterns. When I was a therapist working in community mental health, I had a lot of kids with reactive attachment disorder, and one of the biggest problems was helping foster parents to understand that these are children who will wander in the middle of the night, put a bell on their door, because they don't have the same sleep cycle we do. That's inhibited. So they might be tired, they might be sleepy. They can be, and this is really, I think, applicable to you, these children can also be very charming. I have a feeling that when you're Santa, those hugs are really fun, or they want to come sit on Santa's lap, that kind of thing. But also ask yourself, if a child has never met you, even if they think you're Santa Claus, it isn't exactly a healthy behavior for a kid to just come running in the room, plop themselves on their lap, and wrap their arms around you. That is not a good sign. Okay? So I call them Miss Hugs a lot. I have a sibling pair that I work with, and the little boy is like the one that everybody just like, he's a mess, blah, blah, blah. The little girl, she's the A+ student. She does everything right. And so folks don't really understand, there's no problem with her. Oh yeah, she also has an eating disorder. She really isn't doing okay, but she hugs everybody. Okay? And those are the kids that when they grow up, what happens to girls who don't have any physical boundaries? Right? Okay. So we want to help them with those physical boundaries. Okay? So that could be as easy as just making sure that you ask, which it sounds like you guys already do when I talk to John, but also asking them to ask, right? So I will say to kids a lot, oh, you want a hug? You could say, can I have a hug, please? Right? Hoarding food and stealing. I think for you guys, you might have kids stealing candy. Decide if that's a hill you want to die on. I have a lot of folks who get real upset about stealing, and I know it's because they spend their own money in their own classrooms and their own homes and their foster parents. I get it. But kids steal for one reason and one reason only, and that is to make up for whatever it is that they feel that is missing in their hearts. That is all. So it feels personal, but it's not. If you feel like you're around trauma kids and you want to leave stuff out, you're okay with them taking, just be okay with them taking 90 of them, right? Just, do that. These kids will avoid eye contact unless they're lying to you. Then they can really look you in the eye. Okay? They might stiffen when they get touched. For some kids who avoid that touch, if you touch them and they stiffen up, adults tend to really go, oh, it's okay, buddy, it's okay, and continue to touch them. And that's where I really encourage folks to say, hands off and just kind of sit close. Because that is their body telling them, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe. And some kids feel too scared because adults in control is huge. Lack of empathy for others, feels no remorse. Sometimes this looks like lack of remorse. I've had people come to me, they don't feel bad about what they did at all. Well, sometimes they just don't know how to show that. And they also need maybe really needy and clingy, so you're giving this attention to one kiddo, and then it's time to move on to the next kiddo, and they get really upset. So being able to transition and say goodbye before you move on to the next one is super important. Questions? Yeah.
Age maybe 1.5 to maybe 3, when the parents force the child into my lap.
Yeah.
And they're,
Yeah.
what do you recommend?
Yeah. So here's where you know that I really ticked my mother off. Hey Santas, don't be mad at me. But when I see people post those pictures of their children crying in Santa's lap, I feel furious. Hey, no judgment, but folks think it's cute. They think it's funny.
Well, that's the classic Santa photo.
Exactly, it is, isn't it?
It's getting married or has friends on the girlfriend and show those kind of pictures.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
trying to convince the parents it's okay, just stand there and we'll just talk to the children.
Right.
They still keep.
And so you guys have the opportunity to make a statement in that moment, whether it's a sign up where you are, or whether it is letting parents know, someone there to let parents know before they get in line with you, or whatever that might be. You have an opportunity to say to parents, it is not okay for a child to cry, to come see me. It is not okay for you to do that for your picture. If you want to come sit with me and keep your child with you, great. But you have an amazing opportunity to really drive that home in a lot of ways. Yes.
I will not allow
No.
this, and, but I do invite a parent to hold them like that.
Yeah.
But I've also had abusive parents slap their child in front of us, and that's where I am arrested.
Yeah.
One of my own is not recovered.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Don't play that.
No.
If I'm in the chair and there's a reluctant child want to come to see me and there's trauma, I would get up out of that chair
Yeah.
and stand beside the chair or behind the chair and let the child sit in the chair.
Yeah. Hey.
Take my phone.
That's a beautiful idea, because what if they really want to go up to that chair? You know what I mean? Because if you come,
They're so scared. You know?
yeah, if you come towards them, yeah. But if you say, you know what? I'm gonna go over here. You can come sit in Santa's chair. You can even come sit in Santa's chair with mom if you want to do that. Now, parents might not be happy with that, but I don't
We
know.
all do that.
I don't know how we can teach. Children need physical boundaries, and they need to know I'm in charge of my body at whatever age. And so, for example, even with my own parents, still to this day, my son's 12 now, and to this day, my mother still doesn't get it. Because she wanted me to say, go kiss your grandma. Go give grandma a hug. No. Or my mom would even say, come give grandma a hug. And I'd say, no, Mom, you can ask him. Can I have a hug? And sometimes he would say no, and she acted like I cut her leg off. You know, I mean, the thing is that I was trying to explain to her, look, you're teaching him, he's in charge of his body. You know? So you guys have, if there's one thing that I think you can take away from this for what you do, you have an amazing opportunity to really drive that home by making some kind of public statement about, this is not okay. You know, because Crown Center, I'll do it, and no, don't do that. But that's not okay. So I'm so glad you guys brought that up. Yeah.
I told her, I use a bench or a love seat so the mother can sit next to me. And when the child is, they're trying to put it on my lap and it's going stiff as a board, and screaming bloody murder, I just say, hey mom, it's not worth it, wait till next year. And what I'll do afterwards, especially if it's a house party or a private party or something where the kids are gonna be out there playing, I take out my meerschaum pipe with bubbles in it, and I start blowing bubbles.
I was gonna say another option, because I love the chair idea. Another option with that is to set a kid's chair next to you.
Yep.
And maybe they want to sit a kid's chair, like a fancy chair like you have. Another option would be, if you feel like you've got a room full of kids in trauma, there is nothing more powerful, and I would personally love a Santa picture, with Santa playing with my kid. So if there's cars, or if there's dolls, or whatever, if you just get down with them, or at their level, at the table, and start playing, play is a child's language. Play is how kids speak to you. Yes?
I have my partner with the claws. Very dynamic lady.
Yeah.
A lot of times the kids don't want to sit on that. They ever sit.
Yeah.
The kids will talk to me.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
especially the babies, they feel they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done children from a abuse situation groups, and they have a two-chair rule on purpose, and you sit kind of facing each other like this.
Yeah.
And Santa can reach over, and if the kid will hold your hand, fine. If not, you just do a nice pose. But
Yeah.
the idea is the child's been abused, and they don't, the physical contact,
Doesn't feel safe.
it is not a good thing.
Yeah.
And again, it's what we're talking about here, and I'm really glad that the organization that did that instituted that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we included in their bags, just so you know.
And with these, the bubbles that you can touch and collect, so you can help them collect those bubbles and get away from your chair. But these actually, you can catch them and stack them up. I know little Parker loves bubbles.
Yeah.
And he delights in going after them.
And the other thing is the popper.
Oh.
Chase those.
Oh, can you get that for Santa?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It breaks the ice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you guys want to look this up, but it is not expensive. But there's a really cool tool called the energy stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I use it, so you hold one end and they hold the other end, right? And maybe they don't want to hold your hand to make it light up and make a sound, but maybe you hold mom's hand and mom holds their hand and look at the magic we made, okay? Yeah, so kids really like that. So children with trauma are very sensitive to, and this is pretty much transitions, surprises, chaotic social situations, any new situation, right? I mean, holidays are chaos. And, everything is bright and shiny and lighting up. And so you'll see kids who are just really overactive, and their anxiety in kids looks like overactivity or underactivity, okay? And so these really busy situations, and we've kind of answered some of this at the bottom, these really busy situations can be hard for them. Try to tone the environment down, bring the volume of the music down. Make sure there's not too many people circled around you all at once. Finding things to do like the bubbles or the drawing. I really loved, no offense, but I loved the first time my son, I felt comfortable that he could go see Santa. He was he was almost 3. And he did want to walk up to Santa. He did not want to sit on his lap, but he kind of stood like against his knee. And it was it was before everybody went there. The Overland Park Arboretum.
Yes.
I love that Santa because you still wore your coat and your hat, and you didn't it wasn't a big dress up. I don't dress up my kid. Kids get dirty, So there's Santa, and he went, and the picture I got of my son was Santa talking to him, and him leaning away like this, and he actually said to Santa, "That's my personal space."
Oh.
And the Santa was really great because he wanted to stand there and he was just, talking to him, but it was just a little too close for Sawyer. So, those kinds of situations. But what I also loved about it is it was very subdued lighting. The line was out the door, it wasn't inside. So thinking about those kind of situations when you think you might be around a lot of those kids. It's probably good. So you guys have really great ideas with that. And then I think, how to use nurturing touch with trauma kiddos. It's really super important. Asking for permission, we talked about that. High fives, fist bumps, thumb touches, thumb wars, okay? If you don't remember how to do them, I had to relearn it. A hand on the shoulder is a physiological response to get eye contact for kids who are not true traumatized, but really avoid touches on the back, okay? A handshake, if you got a funny way to do a handshake, I do have a silly handshake I'm known for in my building. I only use it with kids that I really know, especially my trauma kids, okay? If you want to give a hug, give a side hug, all right?
I would think that a high five or a fist bump, if the child has been beaten, a high five looks like you're going to strike the child, and a fist bump, you've got a fist coming out like you're going to strike them. I think I would be real careful about those.
I have not had that experience simply because I say, you want a high five? You want a fist bump? You can also do it low. I don't think they equate some of that, but that's just my experience. But I will always say, you want a fist bump. They also like the fish slap. They like the thumb war. Little kids who want to be close to you, giving them a safe way to do that is super important to them.
But the other thing is, you're not intimidating.
Yeah. Right. And knowing your sign. And so, hey, can I use you to show an exercise real quick? Because I know we gotta get going. So if you stand over here for me, John, can you do that? So there's a really good exercise, and I always fail at it, but I'm also trained in like therapeutic restraint. And every year they make us do this when we recertify, and they put us across from a person, right? And for me, because of my history, if this person is a female, would you be willing to get up and help us? Okay, yeah, if you can stand next to John. So if you were my partner, her name's Sarah, and you're standing next to John, and we're gonna keep walking until we're comfortable, until we get uncomfortable with the distance we are away from each other, okay? So if we say go, we just keep, John, you say there. We say go, we keep walking. I'm pretty comfortable with this. Are you okay with that? Okay, so, and actually, I'm actually really short, so yeah. My grandmother was 4'11". I'm the tallest woman at 5'3". So this is pretty comfortable for me, right? Okay, if it was uncomfortable for you, I apologize. Okay, thanks, Sarah. But one time, okay, you guys together. One time, my partner was a guy a lot like John, right? And I don't know if he had something to prove that day or what. So I knew in my head when I was going to stop. So we started walking forward, and this is where I stopped, and he just kept coming. And I said lots of curse words in my head, because I was like, listen, so you do have to be very good, very aware of your personal space and your physical presence. And not, hey, the use of Q-tip world, quit taking it personally. It's not personal. It's not personal. John's a very lovely man. He's been in my office. It's quite small. He's a very lovely man. But if we were sitting next to each other, I might put a little more space between us because my brain remembers something that has nothing to do with him. Right?
Yeah, see, the first week of school was really tough for me. I got called to the principal's office and to the social worker's office.
Yeah.
Back to the fist bump.
Yeah.
I asked them if they wanted a Santa fist bump.
Yeah.
And what we do is we don't bump fists and blow anything up.
Yeah.
We bump fists and make the reindeers
Oh,
fly.
I love that.
That's what we do.
I love that.
When I see we love the person,
Yeah.
let's shake. And then when they go like this, they reach out to the hands, I go,
Using humor can always be a good way to make that nurturing touch happen. Yes, gotta go. I have to pick up my son too. Yeah.
With older kids, it's like the parents are going, come on, squeeze in tight with Santa, and Santa, put your arm around hang on. It's like, I'm gonna put my hand on your shoulder. Is
Yes.
that okay?
Yeah.
And then I get up.
Yeah.
Kind of afraid. It's like, okay, I'm gonna put my hand over here. You can lean up against my arm if you want to.
Yeah. Or I think it's okay for you to tell parents, hey parents, he's in charge of his body.
Exactly.
I'm a Santa no matter what. Like we're good. Yeah.
And I had the parent look at me kind of funny. I go, Santa's about consent.
Has anybody ever had a parent forcing a child on you and the child didn't want anything? You just know get up and slap the
Oh,
parent?
yeah. Oh, well. Okay, so we went over some of that. Hey, and speaking of parents, it's really important to view them through a trauma-informed lens. As much as I was making fun of my mom, and I could tell you a lot of story about my mom, but my mom was 17 when she had me, and comes from a long line of abuse, and she did the best she knew how, right? Parents, every parent wants the same thing for their child, even if they don't know any better, okay? So being real quick to understand that too is really important. And you guys are the reason people see the good in people. I know so many people who believe in the goodness of all people, but I'm so glad you guys were out there, and I'm so glad to hear about your organization. And I really do appreciate your time. I hope it was helpful. Are there any questions before I go? Yeah?
What size business closet outfit do you wear?
Yeah.
I work with the group Foster Adopt Connect here in the Kansas City area. I do one of the Christmas parties they have for the shelter home kids.
Yeah.
And what the information you've given me is going to be extremely helpful.
Great.
Especially with the numbers that I work with over at the parties that they have.
Good.
Sometimes you have an idea of what you need to do, but it's nice to have the fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Better understand.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, quick.
Some of the slides that you had up there is not in the book.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. All these slides will go out to everybody.
Okay.
I just want to bring something up. As I'm the child and you're the Santa Claus, I metal detect, and I'm also a retired correctional officer. So I have my personal space.
Yeah.
And I call it the distance of interrogation. I wouldn't let inmates get into that circle.
Yeah.
They came too close. I was really on guard.
Yeah.
And when I metal detect, people always come up when I'm metal detecting, they want to know what I'm doing, what I found, and I'm really uneasy.
Yeah.
I went to the point I got my conceal and carry permit. I didn't get the gun, because I found out I couldn't shoot them if they took my stuff and were walking away. So I carry mace in my pocket, and if they come up and invade my space, that comes out and it's concealed in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm ready, and I let them talk, and if I find out that they're just curious,
Right.
then it diffuses the situation.
Yeah.
But I want you to know, if you get a child on your lap, they might be carrying mace.
I don't know. I've never had to
One of the venues I work with, I've got a younger woman that plays Mrs. Claus. And what we found that we have a child that's afraid of Santa or is not wanting to do, she will take them out and they will play games out in the aisle and do a lot of that. And going to take my hand, you generally will, and says, let's go in and take a picture. And then we'll do a standing up picture with the child and Mr. and Mrs. Claus. And it works.
Yeah.
And that way it's taking a lot of the trauma out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yes.
When I go back home, who would I look for to be your counterpart?
I don't know where you're from.
Texas.
Oh. I think that.
Not necessarily a specific thing, but
Right.
just
Yeah.
what kind of job title that would be.
I think you could look up anybody who is a therapist who specializes in trauma. And sometimes you can find that on Psychology Today. Folks who call me on Psychology Today can be kind of creepy. I don't know what they want, but if you call and say, I'm with this organization, I just want to get some 2 cents from you, most folks will
Texas Department of Health and Human Services.
Yeah,
I have a crying baby picture question,
sure,
because I had him trying to force them on me in 5 minutes of trying to take a picture.
yeah,
And I finally came up with, okay, Mom, go stand 10 feet away from me. Now you're gonna take the baby, hold him facing you, walk up to me, put him right in my hands here, and you jump out of the picture. We're gonna take, my photographer knows, 2 quick snaps, and I'm gonna just be standing, baby will be standing, or I'll be setting him, and they'll put him there, and they might start screaming, but Mom's out of the picture, snap, snap, back, come back and get her now.
yeah,
Or don't come back if they aren't crying, and maybe I'll turn.
yeah.
What do you think of that? For just
I think the best
general-
question to ask yourself is it worth it? You know, I mean, is it worth it? Because it's not, that's not
Okay,
an experience.
that's good
for-
enough, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an experience for the child.
It was the best I could come up with
Yeah,
for
no, I totally,
a small set of
it's really you're
pictures.
trying to do for the parents, right? I totally understand why.
Well, the other thing I noticed though too was, as soon as Mom or Dad take them back, crying stopped.
Yeah,
And so then I thought, I don't think I'm really traumatizing them.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's a band.
yeah. Well, I really thank you guys a lot.
This is timely. I said, this morning, I got a text message from Julie Madsen, one of the moms who was here yesterday, and she wrote, one more thought or two that I wish I would have shared, because I know this is a major issue for me. That, and I'm going to read this just the way she wrote it. Families dealing with sick kids or grieving sick kids may seem ungrateful or angry, or in my case, just a full-blown bitch at times. Our anxiety, fears, the overwhelming reality that this may be the only or last time to have our loved one with us can present itself in many forms. I know that for myself, becoming withdrawn, short, often bitchy, becomes my defense mechanism or coping mechanism rather than a bawling, blubbering, weak person, and I don't like that, but it happens. So please share if appropriate. Thank you again for asking me to participate in an amazing cause, and I hope I helped in some way.